when it came back, we all looked at ourselves and we're like, wow, $4.5 million that it's going to drill on a fault next to the highest grade gold mine in Canada. That's pretty sexy. In fact, I think it's probably the sexiest exploration story going on in Canada right now. All we need is one nice Macassa-like drill result, and then, the excitement's really going to go.
Why didn't Mistango just go straight into Orefinders then? Did you not think that you'd be able to raise money because Orefinders had kind of lost its sheen? Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. First of all, thanks so much for watching the video. If you like it, remember to give us a thumbs up at the end and do leave your comments below. It helps us understand the sorts of questions you think we should be asking, how you think we've done, and of course what you think of the company. And you can get all of this as a podcast on cruxinvestor.com along with an article and a transcription. And of course for our Crux Club members, you get early access. And for those of you who haven't already done so, please click the button in the corner of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, for more videos like this, click the notification bell. We spoke earlier today to Stephen Stewart. He is the CEO of Mistango River Resources. We spoke to him about 6 weeks or so ago, talking about Orefinders, which was a company he's also CEO of. And during that conversation, we discussed Mistango. It was a slightly acrimonious acquisition of the property. They've now put that into its own special vehicle listed on the TSXV. Early stage story. They're in the right district, Kirkland Lake, beside Agnico Eagle and Kirkland Lake Gold. They've got Eric Sprott in this one as well. Apparently they showed Eric the data and he got quite excited. Sexy was the word that was used. So we shall see. It's early stage project. Going to be drilling by the end of the summer. They tell us $4.5 million in the bank. Let's see what they do. Take a look in the description below at some of the things we discuss. Anything interesting in particular, you can click on the little number beside the topic. That's called timestamp. I'll jump you to that part of the video. Otherwise, enjoy what Stephen has to say. Stephen, how are you doing, sir?
Good morning, Matt. How are you?
I am fantastic. How are you?
Fantastic, beautiful sunny day here in Toronto, and happy to be back again.
Happy to be back, and I think you've got two bits of good news, haven't you? 2 days ago, saw the arrival of a new member of the family, didn't it?
That's right. I have my firstborn, baby Aurelia, is born. She's here, and I'm sleeping less, but I'm a much happier guy. So is my wife. So thank you for bringing that up.
Well, it's exciting times, especially the first one. It's all uphill from here, or downhill.
So they tell me.
There's definitely a hill involved.
We'll report back in a couple of years, like how it goes.
Exactly. Well, congratulations to you and your wife. Now, secondly, we are calling up about Mistango River Resources. Okay, so last time we spoke about them, just over a month ago, we were talking about Orefinders, what you were doing there. Very complicated situation which you've untangled and trying to create some value for. Okay, so what's the relationship between Orefinders and Mistango?
So Orefinders is one of the largest shareholders. It's probably on par with Eric Sprott. Both have north of 20%. Orefinders launched a proxy battle last year, beginning in May, when Mistango was sort of a dead company. It was a penny, quite literally no bid. We took 31% interest in it and then fought for 6 months to gain control of the board. We were successful in October. We eliminated them, recapitalized the company, repositioned it, understood more about the assets, and it's been a success ever since, I would say. I mean, it's hard to argue with results. As I said, it was a penny back in May 2019. May 2020, we hit 35 cents. So, Orefinders done very well in its investment, as have the people who have participated thus far, and that includes Eric Sprott, who came in twice. We've got about 600,000 ounces on our Omega project, which is right beside the Curatis on the Cadillac. And then I think what's fair to say we've got most excitement as of late is our Ebby Baldwin project, which is immediately adjacent to Macassa, which is Kirkland Lake's the highest grade gold mine in Canada. Our argument is that we've got the next mine in Kirkland Lake, but we got to prove that.
You do. Great. Thanks for that run through there. In terms of, I just wanted to understand what the relationship was and kind of how you got to where you are today. So you know what's coming because we spoke a few weeks ago. I want to understand. So what's the plan here? What is the business plan? I know you've got some money in from Eric Sprott, and that's great. But what are you trying to build here? What do you think you've got?
We're trying to discover an ore body. It's very simple. We're in the right jurisdiction. We got the right zip code. We're on the what we call the confluence of major breaks, which includes the main break, which is the historic break that has produced 25 million ounces out of the Kirkland Lake ore body, which is not just the Macassa. Let me make that point. The Macassa is the 7th mine that has extracted from this Kirkland Lake ore body, which is the 3rd largest gold ore body in the world. It's along a 1 mile stretch in the town of Kirkland Lake. It's gone from east to west, and we are the next property west. And so, anecdotally, you could suggest that we've, there's no reason to suggest that the gold stops at the property boundary. We've got historical drill results that suggest our area is very mineralized. We've got production with grades that mimic Macassa. So, and we see the rocks. We've been on site. There's a lot of similarities. So, as I said, there's a lot of smoke. We've got $4.5 million in the bank, and we're out there looking to find that $1 billion drill hole, because if we can find the extension of that Macassa mine or that Kirkland Lake ore body, we're in business.
Yeah, you sure are in business, but again, just position the company for me. Are you just an exploration company who's going to identify the ore body and then flip it over to someone else? Are you going to develop it and then flip it to someone else? Or are you, I'm trying to understand, where this thing goes, because obviously it's very, very early days. You haven't drilled, you've only just got some money in, but you must have a plan in the back of your mind, because you've got Orefinders going off over here to your right. You've got this new project as well. How do you portion your time, and what are you trying to do with both companies?
Well, look, I'll get to how do I portion my time second. First, what do I want to build a mine? No, my shareholders definitely don't want me building a mine. First of all, I'm not a geologist. I'm not an engineer. I'm a deal guy. Okay, we've certainly got a technical team that's certainly heavy on the geology, less so on the engineering, because we are an exploration company. And I think the whole industry is bifurcated between those who find it and de-risk it up to a certain point, and those who mine it, build mines, extract it, process it, sell it, etc. That is not what we do. It is too early to say what exactly is going to happen, but certainly our mission is very clear. It's to find that ore body first. We can't think about building a mine until we find the ore body. So that is our mission. We're well financed enough to do that. I think in order to delineate a mine, you're going to need more than $4.5 million in the bank, but it's a great start. We can do a fairly substantial drill program as is without going back to the market anytime soon.
Okay, so what did you inherit when you took over? I know it was complicated, but what did you get handed when you took over at Mistango? Because it was acrimonious, to put it mildly.
We got handed a rusted 67 Chevy, to be honest with you, and it needed to be fixed up. And so, it took us 4 or 5 months to really figure out what was going on. So literally, we were handed the keys to the house, so to speak, at the end of October, and there was a lot of due diligence in terms of financial forensics, if you will, understanding even what claims we owned. And as I said, we knew that the previous management talked about their Omega asset, because it's very simple. They had a 600,000 ounce resource on it. It was easy to describe, but they did a very not a good job at describing what the Ebby Baldwin project was. And so when we didn't even know that it really existed. So when we got, as part of our due diligence, as taking the rust off the company, we did title searches just to understand where we are on that map. And then when it came back, we all looked at ourselves and were like, wow, that's interesting. And so that whole area west of Macassa has been very fragmented, and they had a fragmented, patchy land package, but it was a good start. And then we very quickly filled in the gaps. And there are more holes to fill in, but we are by far the dominant landholder west of the Macassa. And that's where we are right now. And of course, aside from that, aside from figuring out the financial, we had no money, and we had to pay off. Not only did we have to pay off our legal bills in our challenge, as we got the keys, we left with their heating bills, so to speak. So we had to pay off their lawyers too. So we did a quick get our feet on the ground financing. I think it was in November or December. Really, nobody was interested. I mean, it was the hardest $500,000 I've ever raised in my life. In fact, I took, probably 150 of that because nobody else wanted it. But turned out very well. And then once we expanded that land package, we did a deal with a company called Hinterland, which in effect doubled our land package, gave us that entire, as I said, the clear dominant position west of Macassa. That's when people started to take attention, and including, Eric, when I sent him the photo of that land package, he got it instantly.
Okay, well, tell me about that. You said you're a deal guy, right? You're not technical, you're a deal guy. Eric knows that region quite well. You sent him a photo of the land package. What does that mean? What was the question you were asking him? Because you obviously work with him at Orefinders. They've invested in Orefinders, so you've got a relationship. So what was the question that you were asking Eric?
Will you invest in us? Very simple.
There must have been one before that, and go, what do you think of this?
Well, yeah, no, it was a process. It was an overnight, overnight success, as they say. It took time to get Eric familiar with me, us, Orefinders, Mistango, and had a number of meetings with him. But there was no deal on the dotted line until we finalized that crystallized what the Ebby Baldwin project was. Showed him exactly where those faults run, and they run right onto our property. And then he got it. And I say he got it because who else knows those ore bodies? Who else knows those fault systems better than the chairman of Kirkland Lake Gold for 5 years, especially at the helm when they were developing the South Mine Complex, which is completely revitalized Kirkland Lake Gold outside, of course, their success in Australia, but specifically to the Macassa, it's taken a 200,000 ounce per year production scenario, and they've doubled it to 400,000 ounces, I believe, starting next year, all because of this South Mine Complex, which has been sitting there for 90 years. 90 years they've been mining this thing, and they never knew what the South Mine Complex was up until about 5-6 years ago. So there's still a lot to discover in this area.
But I really want to drill down here. I want to understand, when you say Eric got it, he got what? What was the data that you gave him which allowed him to go, actually, this totally makes sense? Like, it's a land package is a land package, and I guess if you're in the area, it's great. But why did he go, this? You're right. This is the one. I get it. Because
we showed him a map that showed us relative, and layered on top of that was the faults, the interpretation of the amalgamated, the O4, and the consolidated breaks, which is the South Mine Complex, comes right into our property. We showed them all three, coming together like a three rivers sort of scenario. And Eric, saw that's important. I mean, when you're looking for ore bodies, you need these major structures. It's structure, structure, structure. Any geologist will tell you that. And these are world-class gold structures, heavily mineralized. They come into our property. There's no reason why the mineralization stops at the border. And we've got scientific evidence, drill holes, productions to suggest that, in fact, it does.
So what was he then saying to you? He sees this data. What does he say to you? You're a deal guy, remember? So you, like me, non-technical. So what did he say? How do you approach this? Because he's about to, give you a lot of money. He's surely got an opinion on this.
He thought it was awfully sexy. I mean, Eric understands this business, and he's taking a bet on us. There are no guarantees, but relative at the time, at the price, he came in at 6.5 cents. Okay, so this is when, and actually, we were 3.5 cents. We were 3.5 cents 3 days before that phone call occurred. And so, Eric could have, been more aggressive, but Eric actually came in and said, "Look, you closed at 6.5. I'll do the deal at 6.5." And on a risk to reward basis, it's turned out pretty well. And then, 2 months later, he came in again at 27.5 cents. So Eric says he likes to press his bets. He presses his winners. That's what he's done here. Again, we're well capitalized. We're not going back into the market, but
okay. So let's talk about the money.
We're gonna live or die on our drill results, and they're coming soon.
Right. Well, I want to get into that. So you've got $2.5 million bucks. What's that total in the bank at the moment?
4.5 million round figures in the bank today.
Got it. And you're going to put how much of that in the ground, and when?
As much as we possibly can, obviously, in reason. We're not going to go, and as I've said, everybody wants us to drill tomorrow. We're going to do this quickly, but we're not going to rush, because that's when you make mistakes. We are learning. We just got on the property for the first time ever as owners 2 weeks ago. And so what we're doing right now today, got 2 teams out there. We are sampling the structures. It's excellent outcrop. We can see the faults come right to surface. We grab them, we sample them, we see what is carrying. We look at the rocks, what type of rocks. We look at the age. And then, we go back and we'll do some geophysics, which will allow us to pinpoint our drilling. So that whole process, we're probably another 30, 45 days sampling, geophysics thereafter, drilling by the summer, almost certainly.
Okay, it's in the summer, right? But so it's a kind of there's a thoughtful process that you've got to go through. So there's going to be no meaningful results until when? When are you going to be able to say to the market, here's what we now know?
We'll come out with some samples. I think that's safe to assume. We'll come out with that information in the not too distant future. We'll come out with the geophysics, which, to retail investors really is nothing more than pretty pictures, but it does show targets, but nothing counts. There's nothing meaningful until the drill results come back. Until then, it's just us building the story. It's really, but we communicate with shareholders, but it's us gaining confidence to make sure we know where we're pointing the drills the best way and mitigating our risks as much as possible.
So who's on the team? Who's the technical person that we should be looking to? Because I couldn't find anyone in the presentation.
The key technical guy is Charles Baudry. I've worked with Charles for 10 years. He's as good as it gets in the Abitibi. He knows this area well. He's very technical. Trust him explicitly. And, he's very pragmatic in his approach. He's going to tell you exactly like you see it. And he's out there, just talked to him before you and I got on the call. He's out there in Kirkland Lake as we speak with the team, going over the data, making sure everything's running smoothly.
Okay. You personally own a big piece of this because you bought into this a while back, right?
Not big enough. No, not big enough. But yeah, I own about 5 million shares.
Right. Okay.
Personally.
Okay. You're already working on Orefinders and moving that thing forward. I mean, is that moving forward, by the way? I hate to jump around here, but
yeah, no. Orefinders, quick update there. You can expect to see a drill start announcement in the not too distant future on our Knight project as well as our McGarry. So we're busy on that as well, but obviously separate companies. Even though geographically they're very similar, and obviously the management's very similar, but separate companies, separate registries, etc.
So how does that work? I mean, well, how are you choosing to remunerate yourself on this one? You're getting paid over there at Orefinders, right? This thing, you've got a big piece of the pie. You're also paying yourself out of this company. Is that the way it works?
I am. I'm paying. So in Orefinders, I make $10,000 a year. Mistango, I make $10,000 a year. Excuse me, $10,000 a month. And in Mistango, I pay myself $5,000 a month. And honestly, that's not hard and fast. It's sort of like ebbs and flows, and depending on where I spend my time. Most of my time in the last month has been on Mistango, but that's where I cap myself off. I think I'm underpaid, but we'll see what investors feel like after the drill results. If I'm going to make my money on my shares and my options in this company, and I have 1 million options in this company as well.
Okay. Well, and I think it's important at this stage to kind of put a message out to the market and say, like, I believe in my project. It's difficult with exploration because, as you say, you don't know until the drill results come out. So if you're a betting man, which company would you say is going to do better?
You're going to make me pick my children. I mean,
that's
I can't
literally what I just did.
I think, well, look, they're different. They're different investment propositions, although they are definitely related. I think certainly the market would argue that Mistango has a bigger bang for its buck right now because it's got $4.5 million that it's going to drill on a fault next to the highest grade gold mine in Canada. That's pretty sexy. In fact, I think it's probably the sexiest exploration story going on in Canada right now. And it could ramp up very quickly if we were going to hit all we need. All we need is one nice Macassa-like drill result. And then, the excitement's really going to go. So, that's our objective. And then we build it out from there. Now, Orefinders, again, not to sort of mix messages here, Orefinders owns 20% of Mistango. Okay. So it's got, $8-9 million worth of Mistango shares in its treasury. It also has assets which arguably are comparable in terms of a risk reward basis to Ebby Baldwin, etc. So, I cannot pick. I think they're both valued in the $23 to $25 million range, depending on which way the wind blows. Orefinders has more depth of assets. We understand the assets much better because we've been operators on that company for 5 years, and we understand every nook and cranny on our property, whereas we're still learning on the Mistango and the Ebby Baldwin in particular. And let's not forget about the Omega, which is 600,000 ounces right on the Cadillac. That's got a hell of a value. And, we should also note that Agnico Eagle, we talk Kirkland Lake Gold, Tony McCuch and Co. get a lot of airtime because of Mistango, but Agnico Eagle is the other big dog in the neighborhood. They're actually the biggest land package. They've got their Upper Canada and their Upper Beaver deposit. I believe that is their next mine in their pipeline. Kirkland Lake is going to light on fire when the gold market really takes off. And I think we're in the first or the second inning here. But when the gold market investors really, the cab drivers start giving you tips, Kirkland Lake is going to be on fire. And M&A is coming too. And so we've got two majors, two of the best operators in the business we're contiguous with. And who knows, maybe a third or fourth may come into the fray. So there's no better gold jurisdiction to be than Kirkland Lake in the middle of Ontario.
I'm interested in this. It's a new story, Stephen, obviously very new indeed. I'm interested in what you as deal maker is thinking about, at what point do you start trying to do deals here because of where you're positioned, because of who you're surrounded by. It's going to be well after you start, do this drilling campaign this year. Do you think you're going to blast through? How much capital do you think you're going to blast through in terms of this drill campaign on this side of Christmas?
It's too early to say because we haven't designed a drill program. So it's, I get that question all the time. How many meters? We're going to put a substantial amount of money into the ground in 2020, no question about it. But we're going to be smart about it. So, whether that's 10,000 meters or 20,000 meters, to be honest with you, I just don't know. So I won't comment any further than that, other than we're going to put money on the ground, because where else is it going to go? I think we have a fantastic...
Salaries, G&A.
Fair enough. Well, look, at $5,000 a month, like I was going to say, that's going to take me 60 years to draw that down. But we run a very tight ship here. And I talked about Charles. Well, Charles is on the payroll for Orefinders as well. We split our costs. We've got a whole host of companies here. We split, we've got 5 or 6 companies that we operate here. Okay, and we've got people that are responsible for various items within that. We pay, 1/6 the rent of a typical junior, 1/6, so on and so forth. Nobody is dipping at the pot 6 times. People are paid fixed amounts, and if they bill their time to Orefinders this month, that's where that fee comes from by and large. So that's the platform. It works well. It's got its disadvantages. Like we don't like doing 2 sets of quarterlies and annuals, but we manage because we think that the scale it makes sense. Now, Orefinders and Mistango, when we made our foray into Mistango last year, the intent was always to bring it into Orefinders. I think that would make sense to have those 2 companies come together at a point in time, but we're not rushing to do that. That is not mission number 1. There would be efficiencies, but they don't outweigh the burden it would take in order to do that. So we're sort of sitting back and waiting for our wave. Maybe there's an opportunity, call it a third-party opportunity, that comes to the table and say, hey, look, let's all get married, 3-way, marriage sort of thing. Who knows? So that option's always on the table. And but we're quite happy with how the group is formatted and the team that we have and the cost structures that we, as they're there as a result.
Okay. I mean, it does beg the question, why didn't Mistango just go straight into Orefinders in the first place? Did you not think that you'd be able to raise money because Orefinders had kind of lost its sheen? It
had to do so. If you go, I guess, to answer that question, it has to be done in the context of time. When we engaged Mistango, 2 years ago to try and do a friendly deal, that was hey, Orefinders will take you out. They said no. Okay, it wasn't even an option. And so then we looked at their shareholder registry. We saw that Osisko Gold Royalties owned 31%. Picked up the phone, called Sean, said, who would you rather be a shareholder in? He had been frustrated with them, just like their other shareholders were, and he said, let's do the deal. And so then at what point? So then we were successful. It was at that point in time we knew we had to take over the board. And so then once we took over the board, then you run into conflict of interest issues, arm's length transactions. It gets very, very complex. And so that's why we're not in a rush to hit those head on, because there'll be valuations. I'll have to get investment bankers in to give, valuation opinions. We're not dying to go through that process, because I'd rather spend my time and attention on putting money into the ground. As I said, if an opportunity, particularly a third-party opportunity, came in and said, let's do this all together, and it made sense, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay. Well, look, thanks for the first run through. Nice new story. People should look at it. You've got to come back to the market and let us know how you get on. Pick up the phone.
Let's
let me know.
let's schedule something when our drill results come out. We'll come up and you'll grill me, and I'll look forward to it.